is up? What is up? We are back. What's up? This Dig is in the house. Oh, man, what is going on? Hey, what is going on? Another day. Another 10 cents for black folk. Another $250 for white folk. Man, what is going on? We are back in black in the building. Crib, apartment, house, wherever it is. As long as you got a dwelling where you can chill. Did Jesus come back today? Oh, damn. Damn, and I was hoping he would come back, man. I was just hoping he would come back. Humbaba with that bullshit. I know that's when niggas speaking in tongue and shit because of the virus and shit. Shout out to everybody. Hey, what's going on, Tasha? I see you. Look, I'm looking at the screen early. Man, shout out to everybody that's at the Court Plantation. If you're off, shout out to you. If you're not off and you got to be at the goddamn job, get in there, do your job, and shut the fuck up. Don't be samboing and cooning and buck dancing and telling about the gun line boss and Hayward Shepherd and shit. There's a bunch of y'all niggas out there, so shout out to y'all. You make it hard for niggas like me. Man, what is going on to the family out here today? I know niggas done just got off church and went home and chill, feel good about yourself. I know niggas. I know what y'all niggas is doing, man. I done worked hard, man. I'ma just go ahead and go home, give me some E40 wine, buy me a little dub sack or something, smoke me a little blunt, chill. Thank God. Shout out to y'all niggas too. Hey. Shout out to my free thinking ass motherfuckers that know that the implementations of what they're trying to inject upon us, no pun intended, is some bullshit. And if you're not a free thinker, then you fucked. Shout out to all my niggas that's handling business, going to work every day, doing what they need to do to survive. I know it's not easy. I know it's not something that you got to do, that you want to do, but it's something that you have to do. You know what I'm saying? So you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. Hey. Shout out to all my niggas that think that if I just go to church and read my Bible and pray every day, then Jesus will take care of the rest. Nigga, how's a nigga gonna take care of the rest and y'all don't even know who the fuck this nigga is? Supposedly, allegedly. Man, get the fuck out of here. So shout out to all my niggas that's calling upon the ancestors. Shout out to everybody that reads the Dirty Bookman prayer every other day and thinks about it. Like I said, I want to get a picture. I want to get the actual prayer, frame it, and put it on my wall. I think every black household should recite that prayer and just know it. And every black child in the United States of America Incorporated should know Dirty Bookman's prayer. Shout out to 1804. Shout out to all my Haitian brothers and sisters who got the Frenchmen the fuck up out of there. Hey. And shout out to my niggas at the Court Plantation that know what it is and know how to survive and ain't on no Sambo, Django, telling about the gun line boss ass. It's probably a nigga at a job right now telling on somebody. Just telling. And let me tell you something, it's always some Caucasian woman that keeps up the majority of the bullshit and plays one nigga against another. So shout out to all my brothers and sisters that know who these white supremacists are and know how they conduct themselves. As Neely Fuller Jr. talks about, every person, every European, every other racial group is a suspected white supremacist until proven otherwise. And don't ever fucking forget it. Shout out to everybody that understands that whether Joe Biden's in office or Donald Trump, unless they're giving us reparations and cutting a check, it doesn't mean anything for us. Shout out to Cube for saying, hey man, y'all got all this stimulus money for everybody else. Where is the stimulus for black folk? Hey. Shout out to y'all that support black business like I always talk about. Freedom Paper Company. Go fuck with them if you need some toilet tissue. Go fuck with my outrightherbs.com. Mix of Health. blackandnoble.com. Shout out to Shawnee. Good looking, don't put me on to them. I stay ordering from them. You gotta support your black business. Stop supporting every other business. And shout out to niggas that support black businesses before they brag about having Gucci and Louis and all these European clothing lines that don't give a fuck about niggas and laugh at y'all. So shout out to all my black brothers and sisters that support each other before they go support the European clothing line. Shout out to all my brothers and sisters that's reading. Hey. Like I said, man, I just got done reading this book not too long ago, The World's Great Men of Color. Go read this book. It's the book of Eli, but go read it. By J.A. Rogers. Same brother that wrote the book, Nature Knows No Color Line. Very, very good book. And I just got done rereading. Some of these books I'm rereading because it's some of the things that I'm learning about. I've learned about some of it in different books, so I want to go back and re-educate myself. So I just got done reading this book called Two Nations. Hey, y'all better go get that book. Very, very good book. It talks about how black folk are corporate wallpaper in corporate America. Basically, they just put you on the wall, but you have no significance, no importance, and they don't really need you, but they put you there so it looks inviting. Talks about a lot of things, affirmative action. Talks about how Caucasians use affirmative action to get into these prestigious schools. And how a lot of judges were siding with these Caucasians. So shout out to them. Shout out to that book. There was something at the end of this book, Two Nations, that I read that was super interesting. And very, very interesting thing. It just, some of the things in this book is, go read the book. It's by Andrew Hacker, Two Nations. Breaks it down. Talks about how Hispanics classify themselves as Caucasians, and how Hispanic is a derivative or origins of European origins. Because Hispanic is not really a race. They're just something that they came up with. And how a lot of other racial groups identify as white when they come to the United States of America Incorporated. Go check the book out. Hey. But hey, man, we about to get into protect and serve. Hey. Cut this shit. Man. There's a lot of shit going on, man. But we about to get on. Hey, did y'all see the footage? First of all, shout out to Whack 100. Whack 100 knocked the shit out of one of them white boys in Florida. They didn't want to see it with that nigga. Nigga trying to see, they probably didn't know who Whack 100 was. And Whack 100, I bet you they didn't know who he was. And they just probably thought that they was just going to run up on him and talk crazy to him. And Whack 100 was like, we can catch the fade and knock one of them white boys smooth the fuck out. To Allah be the glory. Praise be to Allah. Allahu Akbar. All that shit. Shout out to Whack 100 for knocking that white boy out. That's what they get. Running up on niggas. See, we can run up on each other, want to fight each other, but when it comes to the dominant white society, we want to go run and hide. Well, Whack 100 proved like, nah, I'm not running and hide. I might find some of the footage and let y'all listen to the audio, but that nigga was like, nigga, you walked up on me, nigga. Then when they realized they couldn't whoop him, get his plate, man, get his plate. He's like, get my motherfucking plate. I pay more taxes than all you motherfuckers. Straight up. So shout out to Whack 100. Shout out to West Coast. Shout out to everybody that's learning and reading. As Nilly Fuller Jr. talks about, I'm still learning. I think it's very imperative that we all, as a community, should start reading and educating ourselves, man. I kind of, I took a lot of notes. I've been taking a lot of notes and highlighting a lot of things within these books that I'm reading now because there's just certain points that I like the corporate wallpaper thing. That fucked with me because at the corporate plantation, black folks are known as corporate wallpaper. We have no power. We have no power within their institutions and their infrastructure, but they parade us around like, oh, well, look, we're diverse and all this other stuff. And really, they hire people that are safe. They're not going to hire people that are for the people. They're going to hire people that go along with the system. And y'all need to understand that corporate plantations are psychopaths. They're there to protect themselves, not y'all. That's why they can fire you and the next day replace you and act like you didn't even exist. Because that's how it is, with no emotion and no feeling. So I think we have to understand that I always go to this adage. Who's holding the accountable? Who's doing the necessary things that needs to be done to survive? I'll tell you this right now. There is There is nothing more than, I would say, anything else than a motherfucker playing the game, thinking that thinking that they gonna get over. But that's not the case. Now we're gonna get on this Boston police. We're gonna get on this Boston police video right now. And in this video, it basically got this Boston police officer basically admitting that he was running motherfuckers over and playing games. Now, I ain't gonna be on too long because I got a lot of shit to do, but I'm gonna play this video and this audio so y'all can kind of hear what the fuck he got going. And it's right. But before we get to that, let's get on Joe Biden's niece who had a DUI and she didn't face any jail time. What do y'all think is gonna happen? Not a motherfucking thing. I'll tell you this right now. Joe Biden's not for y'all. Joe Biden ain't for no black folk. Joe Biden is for the dominant white society. And when I play this video, it's going to basically tell y'all exactly what the fuck is going on. Now, here we go.
Is underway at the Boston Police Department. It stems from the release of body camera footage from the night protests broke out in Boston over the killing of George Floyd. Thousands of demonstrators took to downtown streets calling for racial justice in May. The website theappeal.org released a few short video clips from hours of police.
And watch what he say.
An attorney representing some of the protesters arrested that night requested the video. And in one clip, a police officer is heard telling a fellow officer about driving his cruiser down Tremont Street.
I drove down street. There was an unmarked state police cruiser. They were all around. So I overcommit. So I got the Tremont Park, and I was in the middle of
and you see how he talking. You see how he talking, how he's saying everything, but he don't know that the camera's on. He don't know that the body cam is on.
So then I had to keep coming. I'm hitting people with the car. Did you hear me? I was like, get the
On the video, the officer realizes his camera is rolling and walks away. When he returns, the officer says this.
No, I know. What I'm saying is, though, they were in front, just didn't hit anybody, just driving.
Yeah, now he trying to white explain. But say what you were saying in the first place. See, he just admitted this was during the George Floyd protest, and motherfuckers always talking about defund the police and all this other shit. Then y'all smiling with him and give him donuts and coffee and all this bullshit. But this is how they really feel.
My windows were closed. It was coming in my window.
See, he was trying to nigga explain. I mean, not nigga explain, but white explain after the motherfucker was like, oh, my shit is on. My shit is on. And then he like, oh, well, nah, let me explain to you. Nah, don't try to explain, motherfucker. You know what the fuck he was doing.
Now, that was a chaotic night in the city. You may remember a police cruiser was set on fire by protesters. 53 people were arrested. Boston Mayor Marty Walsh released a statement that reads in part, "This footage is difficult to watch. We never want to see police officers using more force than necessary."
Please, they don't give a fuck about police officers using excessive force. That's within the guidelines, the Constitution, and the police unions. That's never going to change. Stop thinking that any of this bullshit is going to change. It's going to all stay the same.
These types of situations are also exactly why we are implementing body-worn cameras for all police officers and why we convened a police reform task force. Late tonight, Police Commissioner William Gross released a statement that as soon as he learned of the videos, he ordered the investigation and says that the sergeant involved in that incident has been placed on administrative leave. David?
That's why I be trying to tell motherfuckers, man, these motherfuckers don't give a fuck. And y'all be thinking that these motherfuckers is gonna really, man, stop. You see what he said? Well, let me explain to you. And, you know, and it's like, this is the thing that tripped me out. Here, let me turn
Shall
this
I
shit
put her
on.
in snow mode?
Nope.
How about off-road mode?
Why?
Mode? You know what?
Nope.
I'll be in
What the
off-road mode.
fuck?
Why?
You know what?
ProPilot Assist with NaviLink. Available on the all-new Nissan Rogue.
No, hold on. There we go. Let me cut that shit off. Yeah, fuck all that. Let me tell you something. Y'all motherfuckers need to understand, man. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Motherfuckers need to understand that these motherfuckers will put these laws in place and put these police officers in a situation where they can always revert back to the law. And if you think about the law is written to protect police officers, not to protect citizens or pro-alleged citizens. Y'all need to understand that as well. So when you go out there and a police officer violates your civil rights, okay, basically, when he violates your civil rights, now you're going to sue them. You're going to sue the police department. They already got a cap of what they can pay out every year. The police unions are probably the biggest gangs in the United States of America. That's why you notice most presidential candidates, they won't say nothing against the police department. Most governors, city council, everybody's in alignment with them because they're there to protect them. They're not there to protect us. And that's why you got a lot of people that will come out and protect the police unions, and they won't really say nothing against them. That's why when I was watching, it's so funny too, man, because when you look at black politicians, they don't really say shit about the police department either. They don't really say nothing at all. Even during the George Floyd thing, nobody really said nothing bad. If you look at all the killings, Breonna Taylor, Alton Sterling, Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, Philando Castile, Tatiana Jefferson, Sandra Bland, all those people, nobody never comes out and says nothing about them. Basically, what people do, they come out and they'll make a speech and then they'll deflect. And then what they'll do is they'll start talking about other stuff. And then you have all these AKAs and sororities and all these other motherfuckers talking about Kamala Harris and all this other bullshit and how they so proud of her and happy. And I was crying when she became the first vice president, all this other stuff. But my thing is always this. Is she for you or is she for them? Okay, so let's say we from the same fraternity, but my best friend is a police officer and he kills one of your family members. So we gonna stick together as a fraternity, or there's gonna be difference of opinions because of what my best friend did to your family. And that's how you gotta look at it. But I think most black folk, they're so disaggregate, so disorganized. We don't have, I would say, unity. It talks about that shit in this book, Two Nations. It talks about how the dominant society will come in and sow discord and put each other against each other and basically racial showcase, confuse, and give the Stephen from Django's. Okay, let's just look at it like this. You think they're supposed to protect and serve, right? Now, if they were really protecting and serving, then they would have a better use of judgment and they would do more critical thinking when they dealing with people. But they police stereotypes. And within those stereotypes, whatever they're afraid of is what they'll react to. So when you dealing with a Caucasian police officer that's patrolling an inner city neighborhood that he never was around, never grew up in, there's going to be a lot of things that frighten and scare that person. You say, yeah, that's no excuse. You're right. That ain't no excuse. So why would you put him in those areas? That's why you don't see black folk policing Beverly Hills and all these white neighborhoods and getting growled with white people. They just don't do that. They'll go to their neighborhood, but they're not going to do it in another neighborhood they're not familiar with. But then again, law enforcement, policies, procedures, laws, state senators and U.S. senators and congressmen, all that, it's all a merry-go-round of bullshit. They just use you as a participant to power the machine. That's just my personal opinion. Like that's what it's like the Matrix. It's almost like the Matrix. You look at it like this. In the Matrix, they needed bodies to power the machine because the bodies were like batteries and it was powering the mainframe and the machine. And without the bodies and people believing that the Matrix is real, then the machine world, to me, can't live. That's why it was so many people that hadn't been awakened. That's why I didn't like people like Morpheus, because he was awakening people and being like, hey, you know this shit ain't real, right? You know this is woo woo woo. They about to hit you for the real woo wop. But I think a lot of people, I'll use another example. When you go on a corporate plantation, they always find that one nigga, tell the truth, anybody who worked there, they find that one nigga who think he gonna move and elevate up the corporate plantation ladder, and he start acting like Dr. Dre from The Wash and start kissing ass and treat niggas like shit and, and doing that because he's getting a pet on the head by the white dominant society. So if he can keep doing that, then in my opinion, if he can keep doing that, then he feels like he can keep moving up. Now let's just dissect this real quick. What do most black folk do once the dominant society has used them up and they can't use them no longer? They discard of them. And then normally those black folk that are Sambos, they go running back to the black community talking shit about the dominant white society. Isn't that what normally happens? It's the old adage when you at the court plantation and once a black person know, well, that's all racials, but especially black folk. Once they know they can't move up the ladder, they come in with they polo shirt button up to the top and they got their degree and all this other shit. Then once they know that they can't move up, then they like, man, fuck this job, man. This job ain't shit, blah, blah, blah. But in the beginning, they got high hopes. Their mind is open to whatever. Their belief system is flexible, and they kind of not got their nose up in the air, but they do. They treat the nigga that's next to them like shit because in this book, It's crazy. But in this book, it talks about how black folk have to become, they have to become flexible in their beliefs when they're dealing with the dominant society is corporations, and you have to replicate white behavior. You know what I mean? You can't be, I would say, oppositional thinker. You can't be contrarian to their belief system. You have to be in alignment with that. And I think that's anywhere. I think that's any corporation. I think that's any type of, when there's money involved, you have to be in alignment with whoever's got the majority of the focus of money. That's why Hollywood, they tell the stories the way they do. Because white Jewish people control Hollywood. That's why I don't get mad at Hollywood. I be laughing because I'm like, so you're going to have Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman. So she going to play Wonder Woman, and she going to play one of the queens of Egypt. Come on, man. Stop. And it's so funny how they're trying to Greekify Egypt. You know, they want to claim Egypt so bad. These Europeans want to claim Egypt so bad and everything in it. Oh, God, they want to claim it so bad. It's almost pathetic. And I think a lot of the times we just kind of go along with it. Like in this book I'm reading right now, I'm rereading The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. And in the beginning, he says how most black folk, they will adopt and I would say bend the knee to the dominant white society's belief systems when it comes to history, especially European history. We'll just kind of take that on and be like, oh, well, that's kind of the way it's been. And it's so funny because, you know, I was watching on Amazon Prime, I was watching this thing about, it was a documentary about church and how it's a whole bunch of black churches in inner city neighborhoods and liquor stores, but, you know, black folks are poor and black folks believe in this system that really hasn't been working for them. And then the dude just kind of was going, he interviewed Martin Luther King Jr.'s son. He interviewed a lot of people. He was like, oh, he asked these black people, these black ladies, so what's more important? Black slaves liberating their people and being and giving up their blood for us, or Jesus dying on the cross for our sins? Every black person was like, oh, well, you know, our ancestors, they were slaves, and they gave their blood for us, but there was nothing that it could atone for Jesus, you know, giving his blood, you know, sacrificing his blood for our sins. And I'm like, oh my God. And then they kept showing that picture of Cesare Borgia. I was just like, oh man, my people, man, what's wrong with us, man? I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Just like this cop, he was like, yeah, fuck, I fucking ran the fucker over. And then the motherfucking body cam, the nigga turned the body cam around and was like, oh shit, my shit is on. And he probably telling him, hey, it's on. And he's like trying to clean it up. Oh, no, it's not a big deal, man. Fuck, dude, you know what you was doing. Who's holding the accountable? And why do we expect white race soldiers to be moral when it comes to black folk? This is what drives me crazy. It's like working at the corporate plantation. Why do you expect the dominant society to be moral or act morally towards you? They're never going to be moral towards you. They're going to always be immoral because the system works tangible with what their belief system is. The system itself, which racism is, which I need to go read Dr. Claude Anderson's Black Labor, White Wealth. Go read this book, or go read The Fall of America by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Go read this book, Black Labor, White Wealth. Racism is an institution. It's a system. It's a system. It's a team sport. If it wasn't a system, it wouldn't be so powerful, but it's a team sport. Because most Caucasians, most dominant society white folk, they'll take the little bit of power that they can control the average nigga because that's important to them. This one nigga I know, the nigga was like, yo, this job shit is super important to these people. Like, these people wake up every day and this is what, you know, because in my personal opinion, when you get into the corporate plantation, that's their world. So they can act and do whatever they want. Then they try to act like, oh, I worked so hard to get here. You're white and it's your system. You should be right here. And you shouldn't ever expect any black person to move up this corporate fictitious ladder and be successful. And okay, if they do it, hey man, much power and respect to them. But if you're not opening up the door for your people, then it's not even worth watching you do it. Like The Wealth Choice by Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. He said, and that's a very good book. And he said in that book, he was like, the majority of the black millionaires that he interviewed and billionaires, they all left the white corporations because they couldn't even be who they were. They couldn't even take up for their people. So if that's the case, then we should know what it is when we're on their jobs and it's their rules. Black folk gotta know the social game rules. This shit shouldn't surprise people, in my personal opinion. I think what it should do is it should turn on your intellectual thinking and be like, let me critically think about what the fuck is going on. Because I think a lot of black folk, man, when they get money, they get a little bit of, I would say power, but a little bit of respect and notoriety, and they start being liked by the dominant society, they kind of misinterpret what that means. I think they misinterpret that, I'm different from the average black person. No, you're not. You're just like everybody else. You're just safe to them until you prove otherwise. And then once you prove otherwise, they're going to put you in the same caste system as everybody else. Look at Nick Cannon. They love Nick Cannon. Nickelodeon loved Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon made them billions of dollars. But all he did was say a couple of things that was oppositional of their belief system, and they tore him down. I mean, where he tucked his tail between his legs. They basically tried to end his career and then come in between Nick Cannon and DC Young Fly and the rest of those brothers. Shout out to DC Young Fly. And say, well, here, we'll give you a 6-figure, 8-figure salary to host Wildin' Out. And he was like, man, I'm not finna do no sucker shit like that, man. I'm not doing that. See, you have to be cut from that cloth. But I'm going to take it right back down to a corporate plantation level. Most niggas won't even do that at the regular corporate plantation job. Niggas will take that $2 extra just to ostracize the rest of them niggas because, of course, in this society, you're programmed to worry about yourself first. But black folk will carry the groceries and water and garbage for every other racial group, but we won't even clean up our own backyard. Y'all got to remember that. Hey, racism is an institution. It's a team. So if you're not understanding the social game rules, you're not going to win, man. So you got to be a team. You got to be on the same page as everybody else in your racial group. So there's no little I's, big I's, little U's, and difference of opinions. And look, you can have difference of opinions, and I think what you should do when you have difference of opinion, settle it behind closed doors. But a lot of folks, they have their own way of dealing with things, and that's fine. But I think it's more important to read and educate yourself, man. Because in that Two Nations book, it breaks down a lot of shit. It breaks down a lot of how people associate themselves as white and classify and identify themselves as white that come over here. And it talks about how, but the thing that I didn't like about the book was, it made it like being a liberal and being a Democrat is so for black folk and the Republicans are so against them but it didn't mention Joe Biden's 94 crime bill though. It didn't mention that shit. But but I digress. Man, what's going on, Shawnee, man? Shit, just sitting up here chilling, getting ready to end it. I just wanted to play it real quick. I'm busy. Hey, man, I'm telling y'all right now, go look at that footage just type in Google Boston police under investigation. And this Boston police officer was basically just running his mouth. I played a little bit of audio of it. Oh, good looking. I'm glad you made it home safe. I know there ain't no joke out there in Philly, man. Shout out to Philly, too, man. Shout out to Philly, man. Hey, you know what I mean? I know it ain't no joke out there. I know it's cold. I know the police ain't nothing nice. The law enforcement ain't nothing nice nowhere. They race soldiers. They're there to police policies and police stereotypes. So I know it ain't no good, and I think a lot of us need to start educating ourselves. Getting the Fall of America by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Getting Black History Reader by Dr. Claude Anderson. Get that. Get those books. I'm going to keep showing those books. Get The Burglary. Go get this book. If you want to know about law enforcement, get this book. And this was written by a white woman, too. You know how some black folk, they don't take full face value unless it's co-signed by the dominant society. You know how them motherfuckers are. If you be like, oh, it's a black person, well, oh, for real? We like, oh, no, it's white. Oh, man, it was a white person that was talking good about black folk? Okay, I want to read it. That's why motherfuckers always, man, Tim Wise, man, he be going hard. Now, I always have my reservations about it. Just like my brother would be like, man, you was never a real fan of his. And this is before I knew what he said about the Honorable Queen Mother, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I didn't learn about what he said about her until probably a year or 2 or 3 after that. You know what I'm saying? Then that's when I was like, oh, I was right. And this is what we need to. I'm gonna probably do a podcast on the praise and worship of white heroes or a white savior. And the reason why I was thinking about doing a podcast about that too in the future is because when Tim Wise talks and Jane Elliott talks, black folk get so enamored that a white person is talking in agreement and speaking up for black folk. We get so enamored by that, and it goes to God and praise worship that we're not really listening to what they're saying. And then when you really listen, all Tim Wise and Jane Elliott is doing is saying stuff we already know. We already know all that. But if you notice, when it's like, okay, so what do we do in the future? They never talk about any monetary gain. It's always about, well, white folks just need to start treating black people equal. Okay, that's fine. But how could they atone for that? Where's the recompense? Where is how do we atone? What do we get from it? So if I treat a group of people like the white Jewish community, they got treated fucked up and 5 million of their people got killed. Well, they get reparations every year because of that. And that happened in Europe. So why is it they can get something, but black folk can't get nothing? We got to do a study for reparations when it's for black folk, a study, but then when it's for white Jewish people, they just automatically get the money. Where's the reciprocity in allowing white folk to speak on black people's plight? Okay, where's the reciprocity? Okay, are we listening to what you're saying? Okay, so what are you going to help get us? Because it's easy to go up and be like my mom and my daddy and all this other shit. I was always listening to him, and I just was always like, okay, we know all this, but where do we go from here? You know what I'm saying? I think what we should start doing is not getting enamored by other racial groups speaking in defense of us. Wendy Warren, same rules apply. Hey, for sure. I see you. I had already shouted you out too. Tasha already know what it is. We chop it up. She know exactly what it is. Nigga, you better stay educated. You know, I take cracks and shots at the Bible and all that stuff and black religion, but I think beyond that, black folk as a whole, we need to put that religious belief system to the side just for an instant, and we need to come together and figure out what the plan is and start holding people accountable. If you gonna vote, leverage your vote so you know what you're getting in return. Quid pro quo, something for something. That's why I always, when it's any other racial group, I don't care who it is, when they start speaking in defense of black folk, I look at why they doing it and what is the agenda and what's behind it. Because a lot of people will speak up for us when it's beneficial for them. And then when it ain't beneficial, they act like black folk don't exist. You know what I mean? Like Eva Longoria, and when she said some slick shit about black folk, a lot of people will be saying slick shit behind the scenes. It's just, we don't catch it because they're our heroes. I remember Azalea Banks was talking about how the nigga that played in The Gladiator, I forgot his name. The nigga that played in The Gladiator, oh God, what was his name in The Gladiator? And they had this movie together with not Jizza, but RZA from Wu-Tang. Let me see. Oh man, I'm about to look that up. Gladiator. Let me look this up. Let me see. The Gladiator. Russell Crowe. Yeah, him. And he called Azalea Banks a nigga, bitch, and all this other shit. And RZA from Wu-Tang just kind of allowed him to do that because he's so busy trying to build his relationships. And my thing kind of tripped me out, but it didn't surprise me because we will allow that when we're trying to make monetary gain within a system that we don't control. So what we have to start doing is believing in each other and believing in ourselves. And we got to know how to conduct ourselves too. We got to know how to conduct ourselves, and we got to understand what the social gain rules are, and each one has to teach 21. That's real. If each one ain't teaching 21, then we fucked. Hey, man, I appreciate everybody listening. Y'all already know what it is. This is not no cloud chasing podcast. Matter of fact, I don't want a lot of people on here anyway. I already told y'all this 1,000 times. I don't like that because they took my whole motherfucking, gave me a strike, took my shit down and some more shit. Fuck all that. So I like it just like this. Not that I don't want to succeed, but man, I don't even want to really talk about the vaccines and all that other shit because they taking niggas' YouTube pages when you do that shit. So, hey, man, I appreciate everybody listening. Subscribe me. You already know what it is. Hey, if you got any books or anything I should read, I got the book of Enoch. I'm going to get to it, though, Shawnee. I got the book of Enoch. I'm going to read it. That cover of that book look crazy like a motherfucker, but I'm going to read that motherfucker. Right now, I'm reading The Destruction of a Black Civilization. So, I'm going to reread that. I already reread Two Nations again. So, hey, man, I appreciate all y'all. Hey, y'all know what it is. If you working with a Sambo Coon, man, me telling about the Gunline Boss, guilty nigga, you already know what it is. I'm out. Peace.